The grand mansion stood like a silent guardian under the evening sky, its high walls and golden chandeliers exuding wealth and power. Mr. Chuka, a man of undeniable influence, admired his reflection in the glass of his study. He had come a long way from the struggling trader he once was. Now, he was feared and respected. Yet tonight, as he swallowed the whiskey in his glass, a nagging feeling crept in his spine. Darling, Ifeoma called from the hallway, her voice carrying a mix of excitement and exhaustion. This house is enormous. It will take me weeks to get used to. Mr. Joker turned, offering her his usual reassuring smile. You will love it here, Ify. It's everything we've ever wanted. She stepped into the study, running a hand along the polished wooden decks. I suppose, but something feels off. He chuckled. That's just the stress of moving. Ifeoma let out a soft sigh and nodded. Maybe he was right. The mansion was grand, but it felt strangely cold. As she turned to leave, something caught her eyes. Near the doorway, a single orange rolled across the floor. She frowned. Did you see that? She asked. See what? Chuka followed her gaze but saw nothing. That orange. It just rolled across the floor. Chuka's jaw tightened, but he quickly masked his unease, probably from the fruit basket in the kitchen. You know how careless the maids can be. Ifeoma hesitated, then struggled. Maybe it was nothing. Later that night, Ifeoma laid in her massive bed, staring at the high ceiling. Chuka had fallen asleep almost instantly, but she couldn't shake the feeling in her chest. The house groaned under the weight of silence. Then, just as she was drifting off, she heard it, a whisper. Low and breathy, a girl's voice. Ifeoma. Her eyes snapped open. Chuka, she whispered, shaking him gently. He grunted in annoyance. What is it? I heard something. He sighed, turning away from her. It's a new house, Ify. The pipes, the wind, go back to sleep. She pulled the blanket tighter around herself, but sleep never came. The next morning, Ifeoma stood in the kitchen, watching the maids unpack dishes. Her mind kept replaying the whisper from the night before. Maybe Chuka was right. Maybe she was overthinking. Ifeoma. She spun around so fast that a plate nearly slipped from her grip. Her heart pounded as she searched the empty kitchen. The maids continued walking oblivious. Did any of you just call me? They paused, exchanging confused glances. No, ma. One of them said hesitantly. Ifeoma exhaled, forcing a smile. Never mind. She turned back to the counter, then froze. An orange sat there, perfectly still. She could swear it hadn't been there before. Her fingers trembled as she picked it up, staring at it though it held answers. A faint chill ran down her spine. That evening, as Shuka prepared for a business dinner, Ifeoma sat at her, vainly brushing her hair. The mirror reflected her tired face. Just as she reached for a bottle of perfume, movement in the mirror caught her attention, a shadow, a figure standing just before her, behind her. Her breath caught, she spun around, nothing. Slowly, she turned back to the mirror. The figure was still there, a young girl, barefoot. Her dress torn and dirty stained. Her dark, hollow eyes bored into Ifeoma's soul. Ifeoma screamed, stumbling back. The brush clattered to the floor. Chuka rushed in. What happened? She pointed at the mirror with a terrifying hand. There is someone there. Chuka frowned, glancing at the mirror. Ifeoma, there is nothing there. She shook her head. She was right there, a girl staring at me. His expression darkened, but only for a second before he masked it with concern. You're exhausted, Ifeoma. Moving has been overwhelming. Get some rest. She wanted to argue, but doubt crept in. Maybe she was just imagining things. That night, she laid in bed. The air in the ring grew thicker, heavy. She felt it before. She saw it in the present. Then the whisper returned. Soft at first, then louder. Ifeoma, help me. She turned her head slowly and nearly screamed. At the foot of her bed stood the girl, Amara. Ifeoma's blood ran cold. She wanted to run to scream, but terror held her still. The girl took a step forward, then another. Chuka stared beside her. Ify? Informer couldn't speak. She just kept staring at the girl, the ghost. Then, just as she had disappeared, Amara vanished. Informer gasped, her body trembling uncontrollably. Chuka sat up, rubbing his eyes. What's wrong? She opened her mouth, but the words refused to come. Because deep down she knew something was terribly wrong. The sudden wealth of her husband and the appearance of ghosts wasn't ordinary. As Ifeoma sat on the edge of the bed, her hands trembling, the room felt colder than before, as if a storm had passed through. Chuka, I saw it again. Her husband, still half asleep, sighed heavily and rubbed his temple. Not this again, Ify. You're exhausted. You need to stop imagining things. Ifeoma shook her head. I'm not imagining it. There was a girl at the foot of the bed. She was staring at me, pleading. Chuka's expression hardened. He swung his leg over the bed and stood up. Enough, he said firmly. I don't want to hear another word about this. Do you understand me? But I said, do you understand me? His voice was sharp, cutting through the tension like a blade. Ifeoma flinched. She had never seen him this angry. Her husband, the man she had trusted for years, suddenly felt like a stranger. Slowly she nodded. Chuka exhaled, running a hand down his face. Get some rest, Ify. Tomorrow this will all be forgotten. But Ifeoma knew she wouldn't forget. The next morning she sat in the living room, staring into her cup of tea. Her mind was a whirlwind of thought. Who was that girl? Why was she haunting her? And more importantly, why was Chuka so desperate for her to stay silent? She needed answers. Without telling Chuka, she left the house and made her way into town. At a small crowded marketplace, she approached an elderly fruit vendor, a woman who had been selling produce in the area for decades. Good afternoon, Mama, Ifeoma greeted. The woman smiled, wiping her hands on her apron. Good afternoon, my daughter. How can I help you? I am looking for information about a girl named Amara. She used to sell oranges around here. The woman's smile faded instantly. She looked around nervously, as if afraid someone might be listening. Why are you asking about Tamara? Ifeoma hesitated. She disappeared years ago, didn't she? The woman nodded slowly. Yes, a sweet girl, always working hard. Then one day she vanished. No one knew about her whereabouts. Ifeoma's stomach tightened. Where was she seen last? The woman lowered her voice. Near the office building. She used to sell oranges outside the big man's office. I heard she went inside one day and never came out. Ifeoma's breath caught in her throat. The big man, you mean Chuka? The woman glanced around again, then whispered, some people suspected, but no one dares to say it aloud. Your husband is a powerful man. Ifeoma felt a chill run through her body. The whispers, the vision was Amara trying to tell her something. She swallowed hard and thanked the woman before running away. That night, before hurrying home, the haunting worsened. Ifeoma tossed and turned in her sleep, trapped in a nightmare. She was standing in a dark alley. The air smelled of oranges and rain. In the distance, she saw a young girl, Amara. Help me, Amara whispered, her voice trembling. He took me. He hurt me. Ifeoma tried to step closer, but her feet couldn't move. Who? She asked, her voice breaking. Amara lifted her tear-stricken face. Your husband. Ifeoma gasped, her heart pounding. No, no, that can't be true. He's not the man you think he is, Amara said, her voice filled with sorrow, and I wasn't the only one. Suddenly, shadows emerged from the darkness, more girls, their faces pale, their eyes hollow. We were silent, then they whispered in unison. But now we will be heard. The voices swelled, growing louder and louder until Ifeoma woke up screaming. Chuka jolted awake beside her. What the hell, Ifeoma? She was gasping for breath, drenched in sweat. I saw them, she whispered. All of them. Chuka's eyes darkened. Who? Amara. The others, the girls you silenced. For a brief moment, something flickered in the expression, something cold. You're losing your mind, he muttered. I warned you not to speak of this again. Ifeoma sat up, her body trembling. Why, Chuka? Why are they haunting me? He grabbed her wrist tightly. Listen to me, Ify, he said in a low, threatening tone. This conversation ends now. You do not speak of Amara. You do not speak of anyone. Do you understand? Tears swelled in her eyes, but she nodded. Chuka let go of her wrist and turned away. Get some rest. But Ifeoma knew rest would never come because now she understood. Her husband wasn't just keeping a secret, he was a monster. A monster that ruined the life of many young girls and is willing to ruin hers to keep his dark secret. Ifeoma sat alone in the dimly lit bedroom, staring at the reflection of herself in the mirror. Her once bright eyes now held the weight of terrible knowledge. She had two choices: stay silent and let Chuka's sin remain buried, or speak out and risk everything. But before she could decide, the haunting worsened. The first accident happened at Chuka's office. His secretary, a young woman named Ada, rushed home one evening, visibly shaking. Madam, something is wrong with Oga, he told the former breathless. Ifeoma frowned. What do you mean? He was in a meeting and suddenly he screamed. He said he saw a girl in the room, but madam, there was no one there. Ifeoma's heart pounded. What girl? Ada hesitated. He said her name was Amara. A cold chill swept over Ifeoma. She didn't know whether to be terrified or relieved. Amara was making herself known to Chuka. That night, Chuka stormed into the house, his face pale and sweaty. What the hell is happening, Ifeoma? He demanded. What are you talking about? He asked, feigning innocence. You know exactly what I mean, he begged. She's here, I saw her. She was in my office, staring at me with those damned eyes. Ifeoma took a slow step forward. You mean Amara? Chuka's hand clenched into fist. Stop saying her name. Ifeoma tilted her head. Why, Chuka, you are afraid? For the first time. He looked truly shaken, his confidence, his arrogance. He was sleeping. And Ifeoma knew the hunting had only just begun. The second accident happened at Chuka's factory. A machine malfunctioned, almost crushing him beneath heavy equipment. His workers whispered that it was a miracle he survived, but Chuka knew better. That night, he barely ate, his hands trembling as he picked at his food. Ifeoma, he said in a low voice, do you think ghosts exist? She placed her fork down carefully. Why do you ask? He rubbed his forehead. Because I hear her. Every night she whispers my name. His voice cracked. I feel her watching me. I see oranges rolling across the floor when no one is there. It's her. It has to be. Ifeoma leaned forward. Maybe she just wants justice, Chuka. Maybe she won't stop until she gets it. His eyes snapped at hers. You know something. She held his gaze. Maybe I do. The third accident wasn't an accident at all. Chuka woke up screaming, drenched in sweat. She was there, he gasped. She touched me and I felt her cold hands. Ifeoma sat up slowly. What did she say? He swallowed her. She said she's coming for me. Ifeoma's skin prickled. Amara was done waiting. That evening, the light flickered. A heavy silence filled the mansion. Then the whispers began. Chuka. The voice drifted through the house, soft and deadly. Chuka stumbled back. No, no, please. Ifeoma. He turned to her, desperation in his eyes. Help me. But she didn't move because she saw what he saw. Amara, her full form now, no longer just a shadow, but flesh and bone, standing at the end of the hallway. His hollow eyes bored into Chuka. You took my life, she whispered. Now I'm taking yours. Chuka let out a strangled cry as invisible hands wrapped around him. He trudged, gasping for air. Ifeoma, help me. But she only stood frozen, watching as Amara dragged him backward into the darkness. His scream echoed through the house, then silence. Chuka was gone, just like Amara had been. The police searched for him for weeks. Nobody was found. The officer's report claimed he had fled, disappeared under mysterious circumstances. But Ifeoma knew the truth. Chuka had not fled. Chuka had been taken. His sins had finally caught up with him. Months passed. Ifeoma sold the mansion and left the life she once knew. She dedicated herself to helping young girls, the ones society overlooked, the ones who could so easily be silenced. She built shelters, funded education programs, and became a voice for the voiceless. And yet, deep down, she knew one thing: the dead never forget, and justice always finds its way. We have come to the end of this story. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, please click on the subscribe button, turn on your bell button, and leave a like. I hope to see you in my other video upload. For my returning subscribers, a big thank you.